Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another beautiful week. It is week 9 of the DoorDash LCO. I, of course, am Mac. I'm your host, and I'm going to be bringing you all the goods here on the DoorDash LCO. Now, we had some crazy games last week. There's 2 games left here for all the teams to play in the regular season before we jump into playoffs. So let's have a quick look back at last week before we get down to the meat and potatoes.
Might be. Tally does get baited to go in on Tenecta, but who really is the one getting baited at this point in time? Mammoth, they thought they had the catch. They thought they were going to get Tally, but instead he turns it back on his head, gets himself a double. Glacial Fisher doesn't quite connect onto Prater. Now Puma might be under a bit of pressure. Decoy gets in there deep, but he's on his own. Chaz and Prater just a bit too far away to make a difference. Maximize ticking. Oh! The Ludens proc gets it done.
That's a story for off broadcast.
Ordinarily, that would be a really nice bubble, but there's just too much money for Direwolves and too much counter engage as well. The artillery barrage. Look at the damage from Zera. That is unreal. That is 2 ultimates. Just down onto style from the Zera, and he's pretty much dead. Liv is probably just going to flash over the wall. The rest of the team follows. Thomas Chen thinks he's got enough damage, doesn't quite land the W across the wall. There is a nice ulti in from Sapper, but now Gravitas are up the creek without a paddle. Kisei ults over the wall, jumps over the wall, kills everyone, does everything, and Liv just walks away to live another day.
Damn, son, that's some real trap shit. I think. I don't know. Sick music today. We've changed it up again, and I think we've changed up a couple of the faces on the broadcast. So let's see who's here with me to bring you all the action here on the DoorDash LCO. It's your boy, Groovy Juvie, and your second boy, Skimmy Wimmy, over on the far side. So, Skimmy, looks like you've given yourself a trim there. Did you get a fresh cut?
Yeah, look, you know, sometimes you get yourself locked down and you get yourself a little bit depressed because you moved from New Zealand to Australia for opportunity, for prosperity. And you found yourself locked in a room and thinking, this is not how it was all meant to end up. So, you know what? No barber in sight. The hair's getting a little bit too long and shaggy. So, much like a sheep shearer, I gave it a good buzz.
Look, I'm very in need of one myself. I don't know if you've looked at my Twitter all this week, but I've said multiple times that I need a damn haircut. And Jubes, look, you don't have your doppelganger here today, so are you happy about that? You can be the only Jubes on the panel?
Well, there's only one Groovy Juvie, right? That's the one thing to remember. You can be Juvie, you can be Juventus, you can be whatever Juve you want, but there's no Groovy Juvie. There's only one Groovy Juvie. That's me.
It. That is certainly it. Now, let's have a quick look at the standings, where all the teams are, before we get into the final week of regular season games. At the top there, we actually have a little bit of a tie. So Pentanet and Order 14 and 5 at the moment. Of course, Pentanet head-to-head with Order. I believe they do have that at the moment. You got Chiefs 13 and 6 at 3rd. In 4th there, you got Direwolves as well, 12 and 7. So all these 4 teams have currently made the playoffs. Now, it's a battle for 5th place. Peace currently leading the charge. They need to get both the W's this week to make it that little bit easier and stay ahead of the pack. You got Gravitas and Legacy 7 and 12 there, who really hope that Peace maybe trip over themselves at some point this week. And you got Mammoth at the bottom of the table, 1 and 18. So, Skimmy, you weren't here for the last day games last week. Do you want to tell me what your thoughts are here on the table and if Peace are able to do this?
Yeah, I mean, Peace are really going to be hoping for a bit of luck on their side, right? A current game buffer over the likes of Gravitas and Legacy, who they don't hold the head-to-head with. So, if anything other than a victory here today, it's looking pretty grim for their chances. Again, to really be hoping for a bit of lady luck on their side. Gravitas and Legacy going to be hot on their heels and hoping that earlier bit of run of form is going to come home and get them across the finishing line.
I definitely hope that they do, because they've had a bit of a rough season so far, and I think this week is a little bit easier for them in terms of who they have the matches up against. Jubes, what are your thoughts on that before we do jump into what we're looking at today?
Yeah, well, I mean, in theory, it's easier for Peace, but theory has not gone according to plan this split, right? If theory went according to plan, they'd probably be first and they wouldn't have lost the game when you look at the caliber that's of players on their team. So I'm willing to throw theory out of the book for this week, out of the window this week, rather, because I think it's anyone's game. You know, Gravitas, Legacy, and Peace, I genuinely believe it's just like a 3-way tie. There's no one favourites, just with the way the split's transpired.
Well, let's have a quick look at what games are still in the book for this week. Oh, at least for today. 6 p.m. we got Direwolves and Order going head-to-head. This one's pretty big for Order if they do want to stay at the top of the table, because there's a chance that Pentanet could slip up if you look at the bottom, but we're not going to look there just yet. 7 p.m. Peace and Legacy. Huge game for Legacy. to win. Peace as well really need this victory. 8 p.m, Mammoth and Gravitas. If Gravitas want any chance, they need to win this one. So again, a very interesting matchup between those two teams. And then at 9 p.m, a banger. If I do say so myself, Pentanet and the Chiefs going head-to-head. And if Chiefs get this W, then we could be in for some slippery business at the top of the table. And Skimmy, you want to tell me what that slippery business is?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not going to be anything slippery for us, right? It's all going to be up to the headaches that the league admins can figure out between the head-to-heads of this trifecta, sort of you're better than me, but I'm better than you, but who actually is better than everybody else? I'm not too sure. Look, you know, you usually talk about, like, what's the game of the day. Quite honestly, I'm looking at this entire schedule and saying it's quite stacked across the board, right? Order did the upset over Pentanet, broke up their win streak. Now they got their own win streak at 7 wins. Could potentially get top of the table, but Direwolves obviously very keen to, you know, improve on their seeding. I guess the main one, given that we are still looking for that final 5th spot, is going to be these middle 2 games, right? Legacy and Peace, as well as Gravitas and Mammoth. I'm really hoping, right, as we talk about the strength of schedule, that Mammoth can be the difference maker. They've only had 1 win this entire year, has been against Gravitas, so maybe they can run it back twice.
Oh, there is certainly a chance there. Now, Jubes, any picks of game of the day before we do move into the pre-show?
Well, obviously it has to be Chiefs and Pentanet, right? They're playing for, you know, what is going to be that first place. And historically speaking, the team that finishes first in the regular season, most often than not, I don't know the stat exactly, it's very high, like 80%, end up just winning and going to Worlds. So you want to be up there. I mean, statistically, it's on your side, right? If you finish first, so...
Yeah, I understand. Now, you know, sometimes stats lie, sometimes they don't lie, and it's just one of those things. Something that doesn't lie a lot of the time is YouTube's, and you have some key picks for me here. And the key picks today are surrounding the 11.15 patch. So these are what have caught our eye so far, or your eye in particular. You want to tell me about it?
Well, this is a little bit of a collaboration between myself and Skimmy, so I'll let Skimmy chime in here too. Like Kennen has just been picked in niche scenarios where there's been a blind nah or favorable top lane matchups. But obviously Kennen's just a CC bot. On 11.15, Kennen's Q got buffed. So it makes the laning phase a little bit better, makes the damage in those skirmishes just that little bit better. I don't think it's going to be something that we see all of the time. It's definitely not a blind option. But again, with teams opting in for nah, with teams opting in for like short range laning top laners, we probably see Kennen picked a little bit. Again, do we have Kennen players? Not sure. Don't think so. Bit harder to execute. Exhaust, very good summon spell into the Kennen. So we'll have to wait and see. Jace being one that I think we've spoken about in previous weeks, but we're not seeing anyone play it. You know, aside from Winterer, it is very hard to play. But again, if a team can get away with playing this Jace and can find the windows where Jace is strongest, like when Jace is on the item, you know, on the item power spike, come down to a neutral objective, use the poke, or if you're winning the side lane, use the side lane, then I'd really like to see a team rip it out today. I mean, this is the final week. Games mean so much. Sometimes it's worth just taking that risk on a volatile pick, but it can get you so much reward if you're able to execute. So, you know, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that one. Now, Skimmy, maybe this is where the collaboration comes in from you know, yourself, the Trundle and the Tristana that we spoke about.
Yeah, the Trundle for me is a really exciting one, right? Because we've seen it actually getting played in the bot lane as a support now. So the pillar is just so strong. The Chomp obviously really impairing those trading patterns to make it come out on your benefit as a result, right? You talk about the pillar for multiple reasons because it can be flexed in 3 different lanes. You're talking about top if you live for the Chiefs. You're talking about it in the jungle primarily. But yeah, support could be quite exciting. You know, you look into the immobile players that can be found there, the likes of a Callista, a Philios, even some of those immobile supports. So, you know, it can be very strong, even denying like the Blitzcrank hook. So I think we could see some Trundle support come out at some stage. We've seen it elsewhere. And also Tristana. We've got a lot of Tristana players in this region. We've not seen it at all. It's definitely dropped off a hill since many patches ago, but we're seeing it getting played over in the likes of Europe, even in China, primarily in the bot lane. It's actually crept up into, say, a top 5 pick in the bot lane. So it really is a collaboration now with CC, as well as just hard carry. And I think if teams are willing to have another flex pick to talk about, incredible sieging potential and late game insurance.
There you have it. So always good to hear about what's going on in patch 11.15. Of course, I play none of these champs, and I have absolutely no insight because I am a Mungo Bean.
But you're a Shyvana player, mate, and you called it.
What is that?
I don't know what a Mungo Bean is. I just said it. If someone wants to, maybe, I don't know, if someone at home is a content god, I know there's a couple of yous out there, want to figure out what a Mungo Bean is, send it in to us here at LCO. You can do it because we love you guys at home and we love from the fans. So you guys make sure you get that content cranking. I have a feeling we may have something ready already, unless it's not. Either way, it is. I saw one earlier from Dar. He was there, and he sent something in nice and early, so I'm hopefully... oh, we don't have that ready, but hopefully I can send that in and get that ready, because he worked his heart out for that. He cut my face out and put it on a guy. But other than that, I have a question for you two fellas. Question is, if you had to fight the Elder Drake or Baron, which one would you prefer to fight?
Like in a fist fight?
Yeah, just, you know, why not? Boom, 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 chakalaka.
I'd probably go Elder Drake. It does less damage. Like it's easier to solo. Like you can solo that out. So just in terms of numbers, in terms of feeling comfortable in the 1v1, definitely take the Elder Drake. But if I had the boys, if I could pick up the phone and call some people, I'd take Baron. I'd take Bazza every day of the week.
Phone a friend.
Yeah, distribute the damage that we're taking. I'll take a few hits, jump out, get the boys in, maybe get Carbon in to tank a little bit, get Skimmy in if he's on not raid night, and then...
I mean, that is a raid night, let's be honest, Juves. I mean, taking down a Baron, it's a big deal.
Well, you might not turn up, or you would turn up late. I don't know.
It's a good call. It is a good call.
Well, look, we did get to hear from an ex-pro and a #1 analyst in the region. Sorry, Rusty, if you're watching. But let's hear from the current pros on their thoughts on this.
Elder Dragon or Baron Nashor. I think Elder Dragon is probably a lot more epic. Baron Nashor is kind of just like, I don't know, it's just there. It doesn't really do anything.
I think it would have to be Elder Dragon, just because I think it's much cooler to slay a dragon than a worm.
I'd definitely choose Elder because it's so cool. Like, people are gonna do like artwork and stuff with me, right?
Baron, because Baron has like a bunch of eyes you can stab. It's all tentacles, you can chop them off, but with a dragon, I don't know where to attack it.
I'd probably just fight Elders just so I can get one shot, because I feel like Baron would like poison you and like slap you around a bit and you'd probably die a painful death. So I'll just get one shot from Elder and that's it. Just get eaten alive.
Maybe Elder Dragon, because Baron has a lot of moves that require you to move quickly in real life, and I don't think I'm very fast at running.
It would have to be Elder Dragon, because I feel like Baron's a lot scarier, because it's a worm, it's going to be like tunneling underground and all that stuff.
I would fight the Elder Dragon because, you know, my name's Dragon, so go put a dragon up against a dragon. It's a pretty fair fight.
I think Baron Nashor, because I can just run away. No, like, I don't think he moves.
Elder Dragon, because Baron should look disgusting in real life, to be honest.
I would fight Elder Dragon, just because I am really not about the whole green goo coming out of Baron. Not very cool. Yeah, not for me.
I guess Dragon, because like Baron looks kind of nasty and I don't want that to touch me.
Oh, Baron for sure. Elder Dragon's some big ass dragon, like gonna breathe fire on me. Like, Baron just has some tentacles that goes up, and I don't know.
I'll probably fight the Baron because it can't move, but the Elder probably chase me until I'm dead, something like that.
Baron. Dragon sounds scary.
I think the Elder Dragon, because it'd be a quick death. I'd get roasted immediately, and I feel like Baron would take its time with me.
Elder Dragon, because it looks cooler and there's no like venom everywhere, so you don't get poisoned. So yeah.
Okay, in real life, fighting Elder Dragon would probably be easier than Baron.
Elder Dragon. The Baron like has too many abilities coming at you. The Dragon, it's only targeting one person. So like if you got your boys with you, one person can be like chilling, and the rest of you just punch and shit. So
always good to hear exactly what the pros think, and you know, I don't know, dragon against a dragon, I still feel like the Elder Dragon would win. That man, he's a tiny man. Now, let's move forward. Of course, we do have to get to match number 1 of the day, because there is 4 big banger games as I fumbled my pen around everywhere. Of course, it is going to be Order and Direwolves as the first game, and it is going to be huge. Order have a chance to be at the top of the table, depending on how these things go throughout the rest of the day. And Direwolves as well, they don't necessarily need the win, but it could put them into a different position for playoffs if they do get the win. So let's talk Order first here. Groovy Juvie, tell me what has been their recipe for success. They've been hitting everything. They've been coming in with some crazy damn team comps and just making it look so damn good for the last couple of weeks.
I think the recipe behind their success has to be Beats. Obviously, Kevy would be the obvious one, right? Like I think we've spoken about him enough on broadcast, but Beats has just been really enabling the team on those engaged type champions, really finding and linking up with his jungler and finding the opportunity to get Kevy a couple kills in the early game. And we all know Kevy's been on the graves 9 times out of 10. again, Kevy with the lead, Kevy on those types of champions, able to just do so much work. Maximize, Chungy, and Puma. Whilst Puma's been, Mr. Consistent, they've all had their roles to play as well. Like you don't go on a 7-match win streak if everyone's not pulling their weight. So, I actually found that out today. They were on a 7-match win streak. They kind of just chipped along, took wins here and there. And before you know it, they're on one of the longest active win streaks in the world in global League of Legends. So they're just like the hot team at the moment. In more ways than one, if you ask me.
Ooh. Isn't that a little bit spicy? Now, another team that is pretty spicy is Direwolves. They've been playing relatively good for the ender parts of the season. Start of the season was a little bit rough for them, so they may not be as high up the table as we would have thought with our tier lists, our expectations from the beginning of Split 2. However, they are here to play and they are here to stay, aren't they, Skin?
Certainly are. This feels like the battle of the 2 win streaks. They also had a pretty big one beforehand. It got toppled down. They've built it back up again. Now they're on a 4-win streak themselves. So I feel like these 2 teams at the moment are the strongest so far from the 2 games we've seen on 11-15. They've had the initial impact on what they think is strong and sort of how to execute it. Obviously, sort of Zeref come out there from Gun Crab in a composition where you're thinking it's going to get punished, but he made it work, right? And I think this is a team that you certainly can have a triple flex when it comes to the majors, with Claire used to be a mid laner. So it's exciting to see that these teams aren't afraid to take those risks so close to playoffs.
Yeah, I'm expecting this game to be an absolute banger, although a lot of the times I'll say that, and then maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. Sometimes we get a scorcher, and sometimes we get a bit of a flop. Hopefully today is one of the games where it is nice and close, a good 40-minute banger where everyone's playing out of their minds. One team's up 10 kills, and then all of a sudden there's a crazy play. Maybe only jumps in, steals another Baron, or maybe misses it, and then sets up a huge team play, gets 5 kills, and then everything turns around. However, I don't know. We don't even know what the team comps are going to be yet. I guess, head-to-head, are we seeing some similar things from both of these teams, or are we going to see completely different things on both sides of the rift here, Judy?
I wouldn't say we'll see completely different things, but I guess the one difference that stylistically we've seen is the difference in jungle and role the jungle has on their teams.
Yeah.
Like if we look at the champs only have been playing, it's the Lee Sin, the Xin Zhao, the Volibear, right? Then you look at Kevy, he's played the Hecarim, the Graves, and even the Diana. And those champs are very tempo-based, like clear jungle camps, put them on cooldown, get level lead, get items, and then do your work in team fights. Whereas Only's more, I'm going to influence lanes early, get you guys leads, and then you can really accelerate the game and help me when I'm a little bit behind on the tempo jungler, right? Like it's kind of give and take. So I think that they both play around their junglers, but just in different ways. So Kevy gets more of the resources and Only gives more of the resources.
Okay, well that's an interesting one. Something else that's pretty damn interesting as well is the mid laner for Direwolves, and we're going to get to know him here with this content piece from Direwolves.
Coming into 2020, my main goal was kind of to redeem myself as a player. When you have a lot of bad results in a row, a lot of people can write you off, and I've seen this happen with many players that are now successful.
Summoner's Rift.
Before League, I mainly played StarCraft. I reached Master Tier as Zerg, so I had pretty decent mechanics. And then when I came over to League, those mechanics just transferred, so I was able to climb pretty quickly. Split 1 of 2021 was quite disappointing for a number of reasons for me. The style we played was not really the meta, and also really wasn't the way I wanted to play. It didn't play to my strengths, and I don't think it played to my teammates' strengths either. So coming into Split 2 of 2021, for me, as I've mentioned before, I think redemption as a player is a really big thing for me. While I think that a lot of my past results have been forgiven by other people and that now I'm like recognized as a top player, I still feel individually that I've let a lot of my teammates down before, and there were a lot of rosters that I really wish I'd won with, and that if I had been better, maybe we would have. For me, 2021 Split 2 is maybe one of the last chances to not let my team down. And if we were to win this split, I'd be redeemed in my own eyes.
Always good to hear straight from the source, and he's not the only one that we're going to be hearing from. Right out of that, we have Nat to bring back in to the conversation, because we, of course, love a little bit of Nat in our lives. And Nat, don't you love a little bit of players in your life as well?
I do, and that is why I have two of them joining me right now. I'm going to join by Shock and Kemi. Thank you both so much for joining me. Kemi, I want to start with you. Firstly, congratulations on such a great win streak for you guys. Does that really give you an extra bit of confidence coming into this last and final week?
Personally, like, not really. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't really like think about the team I'm versing like that much. I just think like if we win, like enemy played badly, right? And if we lose, they just played better than us. So whoever plays better, I think will win. I'm not like cocky or anything because of our win streak.
You say you don't really think about like the team that you're coming up against, and I want to know a little bit about the prep that you have done for this week.
Yeah, we've been like scrimming so much, like literally like 10 hours most days. So we've been trying like a lot of picks, a lot of different drafts, and I think we'll have something prepared today.
I look forward to it. I also want to know, you know, I guess, did you meet your personal expectations and goals for the regular season, or did you exceed them perhaps?
Honestly, I didn't really know what to think like coming into this split. I'm just like pretty happy with where we are, but like I want to keep going, you know, like I want to end first and go to Worlds.
Of course, that is very possible for anyone. Shock, over on the Direwolves side, you guys are looking pretty good as well, although you haven't won a game up against Order just yet. So, you know, does it mean more to try and get a win off them, or is it just a win that you want?
Yeah, I think this game means a lot, even though it doesn't like maybe have the biggest effect on the standings. Like you said, we haven't beaten them this split, and also I don't want to see, well, no one wants to see Order come into playoffs with a win streak, least of all me. So I think putting an end to that today would be nice.
What sort of prep have you guys been doing then to ensure that you can take that win streak off Order?
We've also tried like a lot of new picks. Like I think this patch is, in my opinion, better for us than any other team. We had some like really key picks buffed for us, so I think, yeah, we've been experimenting a lot with those picks and the picks that kind of fit around them, and I think that puts us in a strong position for this patch and playoffs.
What are some of those key picks, and does it open the way for new picks to potentially come out in this last week?
I think like Syndra and Casio are like two of my best champs, and we were playing them even before they got buffed, so the fact that they were like buffed even more puts it in a really good spot and like makes them flexible bot. In Italy also got buffed, which is one of Only's best champs, so that's definitely like a new one that has other picks around it.
I look forward to seeing some potentially new things tonight. I want to ask you a similar sort of question though. Do you think that you potentially exceeded, or at least definitely met, your own goals or the team goals for the regular season of this split?
I think like the first maybe week or two of my season like definitely wasn't to my level, but I think like maybe since then, or maybe like partway through the season, I've been playing like really well. I think the time in my career I've played the best was in 2020 Split 1 playoffs, and I really feel like I've reached that level again. Like that's my level of form now, and I think I'm like playing really well, like, and doing really well against the other mid laners. So I'm really happy with my current form. I think it's my peak for sure.
I love to hear it. I do want to know, who do you think on the side of Order is going to be the biggest threat to, you know, this peak performance that you're delivering right now?
Well, I think like most people definitely say Kevy because he's the like biggest threat on the team, but I actually think the most important member of the team is probably Chungy. I think even though Chungy is like, in my opinion, one of the weaker mids, I think the style he like plays for his team is something that most other mid laners can't play, and it's like really like key to their lineup. I also think that like even though Chungy is like, again, in my opinion, like kind of weak individually, he's probably the mid laner that's the hardest for me to verse, because when I verse the other mid laners that also play for lane, I find it really easy to just like dominate them and take over the game, but Chungy doesn't care about lane at all, so I find it annoying to play versus him.
I look forward to seeing that mid lane matchup then. Kevy, who do you think is the biggest threat on the side of Direwolves to potentially shut down your play style?
Probably like mid and support. I do think like the way the meta is right now, like it's pretty good for Shock, and I think Cupcake is one of their best performing members as well. So probably those two. Also, Gungrab has some weird picks that we have to watch out for.
Very true. I know we have seen some weird picks come out from Gungrab before. And the last question before I let you guys go is I want to know, who do you think is going to be taking that final spot between Peace, Gravitas, and Legacy? If you want to share your thoughts first, Kevy.
Probably Peace with the roster upgrade that they have right now. I think if they didn't have Aladoric in and Violet in and stuff, it would maybe be Legacy, honestly.
Okay. And Shock, who do you think is going to take it?
Yeah, I think Peace as well. I think Peace with their roster change are like quite set up to make a deep run in playoffs. I think the roster they're running now is possibly the strongest they could have made their team. I'm not so sure about like which mid and jungle are better at the moment, but definitely like with the Violet Aladoric bot lane, I think that's where their team strength really came from before. So I think they're going to do well in playoffs if they make it.
If they make it, that's all right. But look, I will let you both go and get ready for this match tonight. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.
Always good to hear from the boys on both teams and giving a lot of respect across either way, even though, of course, you know, there was maybe some fighting words there said by the big man Shock. It did come back and just be like, look, he is one of the most annoying players to play against because he won't bloody play against me. He won't come into the lane. He won't fight for those bloody minions. Anyway, let's have a look at another fight. We got the predictions here and what all of us, or where all of us are currently sitting. I think I've cracked the 50 bomb, so, you know, I'm happy to go downhill from here. So Twitch chat, please feel free to put your Twitch points wherever you bloody want. I don't really care how these games go. Juice 54 and 22, Skimmy 56 and 20. So I guess you're number one here on the desk for the moment. You want to say any words leading into the finals?
Well, I've just gotten with order here today because, as I said before, I think both of these teams have been the strongest so far, performing on 11-15. I've gone for a recency bias just based on the opponents that order actually defeated on that new patch. They took down some pretty sizable teams as a result of it. So I feel like, you know, if it's their year to claim first in the league, then I'm looking at this one being, you know, favoured for them.
Okay, and what about you, Groovy Juvie? You going for order as well here?
Yeah, I think they will, you know, if you've got one of the longest active win streaks, just bet on that team.
No, can I just say, they don't have they have the longest active win streak, but they also have the longest active streak full stop. There's not even a loss streak as long as their win streak.
Ooh, there you have it.
They're the longest streak.
Now let's jump over and see which way you've gone.
I want to defend myself before this pops up.
Here we go.
Okay, no. I saw a tweet from Order's Twitter, okay, and they talked about changing their mid laner, okay, and that is facts. You can go and check that Twitter right now. So I put in my predictions before they put in their team submission, and I predicted Direwolves based off the fact that I thought that they were changing their mid laner based on that tweet.
Can I?
They didn't.
Get everyone to quickly just do their best Jabated emote, like. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. Here we are. So, Nat, that's you. You got Jabated. And let's see how it goes for you because you also, this is your chance to catch back up to everyone. I'm above you, Nat, in terms of predictions.
Yeah.
What?
You can't lose to Twitch chat.
Twitch chat?
Twitch chat just knows all.
I thought Twitch chat threw a lot of my picks, but at the same time, now I'm slightly ahead of, I'm not last. And that's way better than last season. So congratulations, Twitch chat. We did it together. Woo! As much as I hate you, I still love you a little bit. Now, we do have to have a quick look at this lower third because we love DoorDash and DoorDash loves you. And I've been using a lot of DoorDash lately. I think for the first 30 days when you sign up, you actually get $1 delivery. That's what I've got at the moment. I don't know if this is some kind of promotion or not, but that's what I'm rocking and I love it. It's really sick. Now let's have a quick look at the junglers head-to-head as well before we do jump into the game. You guys asked to see how this goes. You know, the bit of the discussion earlier about how they play, what they do for the team. And there's some numbers here. Do they help you understand what they do for the team, Juice?
It's hard. Jungle's a role where like stats are least relevant in my opinion in terms of like you don't know what they're doing in terms of vision control, in terms of linking up, in terms of objective control. There's so many variables that go into jungling, even just communication. But the one thing I'd say is like obviously the average damage share, just based off the nature of the champions that Kevy's playing, is slightly higher. And only obviously having the Zinzao, the Volibear, even the Hecarim, it's going to do less than, you know, the Graves, the Diana, and the Viego, I guess. So, you know, they're very similar. And honestly, I think they're a lot similar in terms of playstyles than the champions that they're picking. And what I mean by that is that Only's champion pool, if you asked before the year started, if you asked only what does he excel at playing, it's actually the Graves, the Nidalee, the Diana. But he's just had to adapt and change the way that he plays the game because that's what suits the Direwolves. So I think that they are very similar. And I think if only got his chance to say, what do you want to play? Like he's going to say Nidalee, Karthus, I want to play those champs. Just doesn't work for them.
Okay, well, something that does work is Champ Select. It's live, and we're going into games. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first game today of the DoorDash LCO. I've been your host, Mac, mate, Middly, mate. Let's just go to Champ Select. I don't want to talk any longer.
I was expecting this big, epic announcement here, Mac,
same.
and you disappointed me. Well, what won't disappoint should be this matchup here. Week 9, Day 1, the final week of the regular split here, Jivs.
Final week, Skimmy, final week. I mean, it's honestly... It's flown. I feel like we're still halfway through the split. But unfortunately, or fortunately, a team's got to go to Worlds, and that means we'll be watching.
Time has just flown by, really, hasn't it? And maybe that is accelerated by being locked inside your house all day. But let's talk about some of these picks, because they definitely have a key direction towards them, right? So the Direwolves clearly identifying that Kevy's been far too strong when he gets to Graves, has that individual stand-up performance. But then, pretty much like what Shock was mentioning, right? Deliberately targeting Chungi, allowing him to not have anything with a global capacity, be it the TF or be it the Galio.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so far, it says to me that Direwolves have done their research, right? Like, these bans are what I would expect most teams to ban when you come up against Order in playoffs or wherever you're coming up against them, right? I think they've been too good for too long on champs that have, you know, global ultimates in the mid lane and Graves. Yes, Kevy was very good on the Diana as well. It's not to call Kevy a one-trick or anything like that, but I mean, if you... all you had to do is just rewind, watch VODs from the Graves games to really figure out like how those ones went. So, so far from Direwolves, I really like it. The Ziggs being picked up as well. Obviously, no need to introduce Ziggs, no need to introduce what Ziggs offers in the meta. Yep. But it now creates a little bit of, not a headache, but a bit of a dynamic for Order to figure out. Like, what do they want to do? You know, now maybe they have to play the Sivir, or they're going to opt in for the Ezreal, but it limits what you can play bot side.
It certainly does, and you know, what's talking about bot side, you're talking about comfort really for both of these teams, because obviously they went for the Bard and the Xin Zhao ban, so it's really basically saying that, you know, we don't want you to be in that comfort area of not having to reveal too much going into playoffs. We want you to try and, you know, show us something different, you know, flex what you have learned on this patch. If you heard what they said, the player interviews, you know, mentioning that they've been putting in a lot of hard yards, trying different stuff out, getting themselves geared up and amped up for that eventual playoff mode, with both these teams already qualified for it. The Renekton coming out in the very first rotation. There's the follow-up in the Viego, which you would imagine is more catered towards the jungle now, but that is the classic Syndra pick. And knowing if Shock's on your team, you can't imagine that being flexed into the bot lane unless absolutely necessary.
Now this is tough for Direwolves. Now hear me out, because they've got Syndra, right? And Syndra kind of likes being sole AP threat because they can't itemize magic resistance efficiently and you're all burst. But they have the Ziggs now, which is fine if you consider like you have an AD threat jungle, AD threat topside. But Order have locked in Renekton, so kind of negates Claire's Camille pick. I don't think he's going to want to opt in for that. Yep. Then what's your other AD threat topside? Like what's Claire taking topside that's going to be so much of a threat that it forces like some itemization issues for Order?
It's a good question, because if you actually look at his Camille, we know that both players are fantastic Camille players, but Claire's undefeated across, I believe, 7 games. So locking that in nice and early. It could have been a Jax as well. We know that Maximize can play, but basically setting down the gauntlet. Hey, we're going to take this, and we're not even going to allow you to play into that counter matchup. We saw him play Volibear last time. Left a little bit left to be desired in it. So in terms of what would be up there, if you're looking at his recent champion pool, you're thinking Lee Sin and Nocturne. Yeah,
Lee Sin, Nocturne, maybe. Lee Sin's just been hit with the nerf hammer so many times now. Like, it still gets played in the mid lane sometimes, but I feel like top side of the map, there's better things to play at the moment. So we'll have to see how this one plays out.
Double bans towards Kevy.
Yeah.
So you talk about the Graves, you talk about now the Diana as well. We know that he has that weird and wacky champion pool where we can bust up the things like a Kayn, like an Evelynn perhaps even. Wouldn't be too surprised. Nidalee for sure, and we also had the Vi as well, so definitely a bit of intention going towards him. A very clear focus from the Direwolves to say that we know that Only would love to play the same style as Kevy, but is, I suppose, much more adept, this split at least, to play into his lanes, being that gank focused, I'll empower you, whilst Kevy tries to empower himself.
I was going to say, my question to you was going to be, like, what are we going to see mid lane from Chungi? Because he's kind of been banned out. And not that he doesn't have other options, but I mean, we've just been conditioned to seeing him on the Twisted Fate, on the Galio, and then on the Syndra. So then, like, those three are off the board. and he's taken the Yasuo. Now, fun fact about Chungy is, I believe when he got rank 1, or very close to rank 1, he pretty much exclusively played the Yasuo, and he was very good at it. Like, I played quite a few games with him back in the day, and I mean, he was a good Yasuo. So, historically, Yasuo has a decent time into the Syndra. Obviously, in the early laning phase, it's going to be a little bit rough, but you just think, like, if you can time that win wall, and if you can get a CC jungler that enables the knockup, it is very hard to play Syndra in the mid jungle 2v2. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gragas even.
Just trying to think back, it would have been an OCS when we cast him playing for the RMIT Redbacks, where people are very hyped up about his Yasuo, so it's good to see. He's already played it once this split. This is going to be the final pick of Taliyah. That will give you the knock-up, and that will give you also a very strong 2v2 to fair and square up against Direwolves.
Look, it's a tough 2v2. It's a tough ask having the Yasuo the Taliyah because it's not reliable CC, but where the Taliyah really has a good time in this game is going to be with the Renekton. So Renekton is like a old school kind of Renekton Elise tower dive, or like Renekton and any form of burst damage jungler, because it's guaranteed hit, right? So Kevi is going to be able to hit the knockback off the flash stun from Renekton if he opts in for that. So that's where we're going to see those interactions. And what this says to me is it's just going to be a weak side bot lane for Order, Puma on the Ezreal. Beat's going to link up with Kevi and try to make something happen. Look, Taliyah, not the biggest fan, obviously, but not to say he can't make it work, right? You know, I'm not here to say whether or not he can play it, whether or not it's viable, but in terms of you know, where Taliyah stands in the meta, like, we don't really see it.
Well, it's a spicy one here, Juves, because date your mind back to week 6. It was a Mammoth up against Order. It was Gudo that played a Taliyah into Order. Yeah. So perhaps some lessons were learned from that occasion, saying, look, we can identify the strength points of it. We know how we could look to try and navigate it ourselves. And if there are going to be this big focus towards Kevi again, it's happened, you know, multiple times this split just against him, that we have this very deep champion pool with some very obscure picks that can cause chaos.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, I'm a fan of both drafts in the sense that, like, they're fun. You know, this is the last week. This game means a bunch for both teams, like they've said. And they're kind of not resting on what they've played all year, right? You know, Cupcake, I don't think we've seen him play much Rakan. Why not do it in the last week, right? You're locked for playoffs. Let's see if we can make this one work. Yeah, it's into Leona. It's not the best laning phase into Leona. But I mean, if you can make it work, get to mid game, get to late game, like, you're going to have far more of an influence in team fights than the Leona will. You know, particularly with the CC coming through from Rakan, that's a guaranteed Mega Inferno Bomb land, right? So there's ways and intricacies in which the composition from Direwolves works. And both sides, it's ultimately going to come down to execution, right? I'm expecting to see Kevi just hug top side of the map, and I'm expecting to see Only really try and focus on this Yasuo in this mid-jungle 2v2.
Beautiful. Well, let's crack on with it. Game number 1 of the evening, Direwolves taking on Order. It's a battle of the top 4. And as we get ourselves loaded into this one, let's bring Farmer into the conversation, have a quick chat about things so far. And mate, you know, final week of the split, what's the focus been for the team in practice?
Same as it is every week, just get better and, you know, practice what we need to win. There's definitely a little bit of pressure now because the standings are pretty close and we want to get that 3rd place spot, but yeah, it's just been another week at the office. We're just on the grind.
I mean, it's a good point that you raise, right? Given that, you know, top 3 would guarantee you a second life, right? The upper bracket for those playoffs. Currently 4th, but, you know, how would you rate the split as a whole? Would you say it's been a success? I mean, you've qualified for playoffs both times.
I mean, I think anything less than 1st is like a little bit disappointing with like the resources that we have, and we're just honestly very ambitious, so we're like put a lot of pressure on ourselves to succeed. But yeah, the split overall, I mean, last split we ended the split a little bit better, like we finished 2nd, but I think that that is kind of irrelevant. Like, all that matters is that you're at your peak when you're at playoffs, and we're aiming for that. And also, in addition, like the second life thing, like last split we had the second life and it didn't really do anything for us. So realistically, it's really just about our optimal performance at the optimal moment.
And, you know, speaking of optimal performance, we're actually looking at some of your stats. Both teams coming into 11-15 had a really strong start with some creative picks. We saw some more creative picks here again today. Does this seem to be a bit of a direction that things are going where, you know, the team as a whole are feeling quite comfortable? Shock mentioned it with his interview before, that the champions that the team seem to excel on, they're the ones that are receiving the buffs.
Yeah, like, we're very happy with the patch. I've said it a lot of times, and we're also very happy with this draft. I think that I'm not exactly sure what Order's plan was when they drafted like this. I know that we were prepared for every pick they had, but I'm almost wondering if they got a little bit in their heads when they picked like Renekton 2P or like something like that. So, you know, I would say that Order have a lot of champs and a lot of comfort champs on the patch that they're really strong and good at, and we've banned a lot of them, and we were prepared for a lot more of them. So I'm just looking forward to watching the game play out.
Yeah, you and me both, Farman. Well, mate, I appreciate it as always. Let's crack on with this one and hope it puts on a show.
Thanks, boys.
Not much happened, Skimmy. Pretty much just a, well, I guess you'd call a standard early game. Just full clears from the junglers, little bit of trading in the mid lane, right? Changi showing us the proficiency on the Yasuo, who was able to juke out on a lot of shots Qs in the early game, and he's down to 1 flask charge, so not a big deal by any means, but nice to see how that lane is faring and how that lane's going to play out, and we might even see something early here.
2v2 is looking to play out here. Worth noting that for Dire Wolves, they have a lot of stuns in the CC to play around with, right? Can definitely bait out some flashes and look to try and navigate the wind wheel quite efficiently if Shock opens up and only is there the follow. He's going to roam down to bottom crab and he's going to find himself a bot lane in order as Beat starts it off here with the stun. A lot of damage to follow there from the owner passive. Now, forcing out a flash here from Puma, who felt threatened by it, but it felt like he jumped the gun just a fraction there, and nothing's going to break out from this.
Yeah, nothing breaking out. Shock's just taken the Scuttle Crab, by the way, and said, nah, no one's getting this one. I thought it was going to be a double crab angle, but Order's done a very good job using their priority bot side of the map to really rotate down to that crab and deny only picking up the second one. And that's huge because a lot of where Talia struggles is in the early game, right? And yes, if she lands a full combo on you, you're going to get not one shot, but take a lot of damage, right? And no one ever questions that. But the problem she has is getting bullet out in the 1v1 and the 2v2, right? Because if you just dive her and focus her in the skirmish, it's really, really hard to play. So a lot of where Talia's power comes from is finding, you know, the 1v2s, which seems like common sense, but you really have to avoid that 1v1.
See if Kevin can find himself in a situation like that where he can get to level 6 as quickly as possible and look to influence the map. You can see the predictions there. Everybody in favor of Order so far, 72%. Believing that they can make it 8 wins on the go right now. It's worth noting, as we were looking for what the AD direction would be for clearing the top lane, he's gone for the Gnar, which was, you'd have to say, one of his more prominent picks in Split 1. I think there's that famous moment against Peace where he TPs in early, and what did it result in, like a 3 or 4-man slam that just really turned the tide of the fight and sort of announced himself as, I am now a top lane player.
Yeah, I do remember that game actually quite clearly, and that was the game where we're like, okay, Claire's here to play now. He's found this champion, and he's kind of found the confidence and the groove. So there's no doubt he can play. He can play Gnar. I mean, he's having a very good time in this lane so far already. So, you know, normally, if I'm being brutally honest, and again, I'll go on the record and say I love Claire and I love Claire as a player, but normally Claire dies solo in a lane quite early, right? And if he doesn't, he kind of carries the game.
Well, he's at level 6 first, has that advantage up against his opposition. Already used the ultimate, committed to it, going to get sliced and diced and stunned, in trouble. Not going to burn the flesh at the very last moment. Also forcing out Max, who can't get it. But Kevy, double flash burn and first blood secured.
I cursed him, didn't I?
It happened again.
I cursed. I didn't. Look, that wasn't solos in Claire's defense, but he got greedy trying to push his wave in, and ultimately it's just a good gank from Order, right? You know, off really good timing, and this is into a reset from Kevy, and this is where we see that Talia pick have a lot of value now, because he's able to get something done in the early game. And a lot of the time you see these kind of niche picks, these niche junglers kind of fall off a cliff in a competitive game. It's because they don't get gold, they don't get resources, and they don't get anything done. But he's kind of just skipped that part of the game, right? Like, he's got Sork Boots and an Amp Tome, so his next gank is going to be lethal.
Going to be a lot of damage, as you said, a Dark Seal there too, to try and snowball himself that much further. Top side now going to be potentially a bit of trouble, as it'll only be left with the flash available. So if he can hit level 6 shortly, then definitely some strong skirmishing potential to help out on that side of the map. Here's some of the proof of the pudding if we look in the mid lane, where you did hear Shock saying that, you know, Chungi, a bit of an annoying player to go up against. You'd have to agree here with the CS difference so far. And I actually had a quick look at some of the stats going into this one to sort of see how things played out. And
yeah.
Chungi has one of the highest KDAs in the mid lane. has the second lowest gold difference at the 10-minute mark. So kind of proof to sort of say that this is the style that he's accommodating.
Well, he's always out of lane. I mean, he sacrifices waves, he sacrifices farm, and he sacrifices turret plates to really get leads in side lanes. However, you can't really play this way with Yasuo. So it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of changes the way that he's been built to play this year to open up the Yasuo pick. And I mean, he's down 20 CS at the moment. So, might be caught maximized.
Maximize is going to take a fair beating right now. Looking to go as quick as he can is Claire, who's already dropped him down to half. There's the Dominus looking for the full-on commit. There's the Minefield, who's only jumps on through, hits the stun, hits the guard, and gets them all down. Claim the souls, double buff, double kill. It's just too easy when you got a flash.
Yeah, Claire played that, I mean, to perfection. You know, you got to give credit to him there. That skirmish was pretty much all him. He kited out so well, used his time and spacing to get the Mega Gnar, and this is just going to result into a Rift Herald. Now, that's kind of the I guess, the negative, if you will, of Taliyah, right? This is what we talked about, level 3, level 4. You can't really play 2v2s. I mean, Claire did play that to a T. You know, different... They're contesting.
Certainly are, as both supports are looking to roam up here. Obviously, Cupcake here first, only going to go for it, but can actually claim the eye afterwards because the wall's going to block things, and now Order are zoning them away, so what could have been a huge explosion of power and presence for Direwolves might now be halved.
That's a very good, and I'll hold the thought again, because...
There's the knock-up. Last Breath is still there, but he doesn't need to commit to it just yet, and no caster curse this time. The wall goes out. Getting closer and closer to lethal as the ultimate is available for Shock, but his mana is quite low, so Beats is there to shadow and at least crash in that wave.
But there's so much to break down, because I want to break down how that 2v2 is kind of why Taliyah's not that great, because if you ever do just get focused down in the 2v2 and it's not that 1v2 like we talked about, you're going to lose. So that's what we saw happen there. Then we saw Direwolves pick up the Rift Herald, but not able to actually pick it up, which is still kind of a win, right? Because you take it off the board, you've won the topside skirmish already, and I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. You still got that 1.5k gold lead. And then this Yasuo pick is kind of suffering. 20 CS down in the mid lane. Shock showing us his proficiency on this Syndra. So in terms of...
Claire gets the bounce, sidesteps the knockback. Minefield is irrelevant. And yes, beautiful play from Claire.
Yeah, so in terms of like how this early game's gone, and I'll hold it again.
Flash committed, jumps on through, the quickness is there, the charm is affected, the wall will do nothing against that. And what was the 20 CS leads?
Yeah,
might just become a little bit more.
Yeah, it's dangerous territory now in the mid lane. I mean, this has just been pure 1v1. Yeah, it's been hovers. Yeah, there's been kind of little moments where supports have dipped their head into the mid lane. But I mean, this is what the Ziggs pick enables you to do, right? He stays safe in the bot side, he's up farm, and I can't remember the last time that I've seen Cupcake in bot lane. Like, he's just permanently been hovering mid, and I mean, if you're there long enough, you're eventually going to get something done. And he's able to pick up a kill onto the Yasuo, and when you look at the composition Order have drafted, the one place they can't really afford to be behind is that mid lane. Because Yasuo is such a key component of your composition. Yasuo and Taliyah, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that they need to play off the back of each other, but they both can't be behind. And when you take stock of the scoreboard, the gold lead, and everything else, they're both kind of in a little bit of trouble.
Certainly are. 11 minutes in, 2k lead. There's the stun first of all. The wind will follow. The bomb comes down from the bot lane, and a four-man collapse with a bit of gold shed across the team. Means that's his second death, and more plates to claim on that mid-tier one.
Yeah, and again, it's just Cupcake, like, not bot lane. At this point, when you're playing Yasuo, it's the hardest thing to do in the world because you're just playing against a 1v2 lane. This is why support is such an important role paired with the jungler, because 80 carries, like, they get babysat for what? Level 2, level 6, level 7, till boots get picked up by support. Then they're kind of just on their own. And you know, they're able to fend for themselves and they just pick up waves. And this is how the game, this is not the way. Thought Shock might look for the kill there. But this is not the way that you want to play, right? Like, you can't ask Chungy on the Yasuo to just play on his turret, because then he's just going to lose the lane to Syndra. Like, the Yasuo needs to play in the minion wave, needs to be aggressively trading, needs to be looking for the solo kills. But when you pair that with Taliyah, they don't have the strongest 2v2 in the world. So you run into this like problem from draft, dynamic, and arguably the way that Order have played the game all year.
Interesting to see this shift so close to playoffs with first available for the taking, but this could be quite big for Direwolves if they were to claim a victory here.
But
one step closer to getting to the upper bracket, but big identity shift that might have some consequences.
My question would not be necessarily, maybe more of a rhetorical one, but is it Order trying to play another style? Or is this them just being banned out and forced into this style? Because when have we seen a game where Order haven't gotten the key picks that got banned in the 5 bans in draft? When have they, and I'll hold the thought.
Well, this is Order looking to try and mount their assault. They jump in, there's a knock-up, and that's only been the focus, but he can jump into the mist, come back in, claim assault, look to reset, turn the fight back on the head and make this a fight that the Direwolves will win. A double for him, claiming the souls like a Viego so efficiently does. And the script seems a little bit flipped when you're talking about these jungle matchups.
Yep.
Now only finding himself as the individually strong one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no armor on the side of Viego, and he survived the Yasuo ultimate into a Talia knockback into a full combo, and he wasn't even half health. I mean, this deficit is only 3k, sure, but 3k at 13 minutes. But also, you have to consider the champions, the draft. Draft is such a key component when looking at gold difference. Like, a lot of times, you just blanket statement, you're down 4k. What does that mean? Yeah, you're down a little bit. But in terms of relative strength of the champions, this 3k or 4k now is a lot bigger than it seems. Because when you have Yasuo, when you have Talia, and you're playing from behind, it is almost impossible. Because your one shot is not there, your burst is not there, you lose your lane, you're pushed under turret, there's just no avenue to do anything. So Order, it's unfortunate to say, but they might have to be sacking mid lane to find wins in the side lane. I mean, only is having a blinder though, just quietly.
I mean, he's up 1200 gold, was the first in the game to get that Mythic Item complete. Still very strong going into Kevi. 1 level leads. He can look to try and force his hand. So you can invade our blue buff, but we can do the same to you and just cross the map and now take your red. Top half of the map will belong to us. I just don't think you can protect it.
It's just the worst feeling in the world as the jungler, right? Like,
whoa. Well, they're just flashing across. They are forcing their hand like you would not believe. Maximize was the focus as Beats went sideways looking for vision. You can see this sort of sigh of relief on Max's face. They're thinking, what on earth was that? But a big focus now from a 3-man squad looking to find more kills.
Yeah, that was wild from Only. So they're about to pick up their second Rift Herald now, Stimmy. I mean, well, pick up is a broad term. They're going to get their second Rift Herald and pick up their first one.
Yeah, the first one was denied after doing such good work to establish it. These bot laners, nice and nimble, very content to get themselves some solo XP and just farm up a trait. They are dead even as it stands so far.
It's a... I want to be that guy, but it kind of is my job. We're seeing a 50 CS lead in the mid lane at 15 minutes, and we're seeing a top lane turret go down in isolation. I mean, this is just across the board, a clinic, and again, like, I cast the Cursed Claire, but he's only 0-1-2, but this whole game, in my opinion, this whole early game, and again, I'll hold the thought.
Still seeing Only being the bully, utilizing that lead to a good degree of efficiency, and he's not done just yet. He's not even clearing these camps. He has the lead, but it doesn't matter because he can gank where he pleases. They're going to go mid again. 5-0-1.
I mean, there's not much to say aside from maybe we... Oh.
They're not done just yet. No, they want more action. A Direwolves really looking to try and point a finger at the opposition and say, we should be far higher in this league. Get his own away Max. He gets to hang on to his flash, but the ult has been burnt. Just a bit of a capitulation here. As now Beats is trying to fight back, looking to go for Gun Crab in a 1v3 situation himself. Going to be a lot harder for his Ziggs to stand strong here. And a much needed kill to try and even out the books.
Yeah, he got Gun Crab on the weak side, getting caught. I mean, you know, I'm sure if he watches the VOD back on that one, he knows he shouldn't be at that turret. You're winning everywhere on the map. The death doesn't mean much. Like, this turret was still going to fall down. He was still going to lose all this farm. He just gives over a little bit of additional gold to the Leona. But, I mean, you've got to be happy if you're a Direwolves fan with what you've gotten in the mid lane, top side of the map. And, again, there's been so much action. I've just kind of been cut off and not really gotten all my points across. But, I mean, it's funny to say, you know, Claire is 0-1-2, but I feel like his play and impact in the early game has kind of just set the sails for how we've seen the rest of this game play out. The way he played that early 2v2 has really just allowed Only to be that 5-0-1 Monster Viego. And he's just ran around with Cupcake for the rest of the game. He's taking heads.
Not Mundo, but he certainly does what he pleases. And, you know, back to your mid lane point, I mean, who do you think is more of a lane-dominant mid laner than the likes of Shock or, you know, Chaz? I think in a matchup like this, he's clearly demonstrating that, you know, there are strengths and weaknesses to us all, but in this matchup, it's my playground.
Yeah, I actually think if you asked me this maybe 5 weeks ago, I wouldn't have had this opinion, or maybe even 6 weeks ago. However, in terms of if Shock's on his champion, like if he's got his Syndra, his Orianna, his Control Mage type champions, maybe even the LeBlanc, you know, we've seen that from him this year. I think Shock's the best laning mid in the league at the moment in terms of form, right? In terms of the lead he just builds and generates in the 1v1. Like he's at a 40 CS, 50 CS lead still. But when he was at his 20 CS lead, that was almost in isolation. Like there was people that popped their head in the mid lane and said good A, but the result was going to be the same. He's just so safe, so stable, and he builds incremental leads, not the flashy way, not the volatile way. He actually gets them the safe way. And all of a sudden you press tab, you see your mid lane at 20 CS up, that's a kill, and you feel comfortable, you feel happy, and you know you have a lane to play around, and Direwolves are really just flocking to that mid lane.
I mean, you can see it there from the goal graph, right? It really is the mid-jungle duo of the Direwolves, a point that you've highlighted multiple times in the past of being Direwolves' core strength and identity. And today, they are clearly playing to that narrative and looking to try and get themselves across the finishing line.
Crazy too, because before the game I actually said Chungy has a good Yasuo. I cast a cursed him, I guess.
Got far too much power, I think. That's what I'm taking from this.
Look, can I say in his defense, he wasn't given tools to enable him. Can I? Because if you play Yasuo, you can't ever play Yasuo in isolation in a competitive game. It's nigh impossible. So Yasuo rose to prominence in the LCK when Diana rose to prominence. Because they paired Diana with Yasuo, it's a free ultimate at level 6. Much like the Gragas when we saw Gragas Yasuo. But he's got absolutely zero favors from draft in this game. So whilst he hasn't played a good game by any means and probably tilted a little bit, I will defend him in that sense and say he is literally being hung out to dry in terms of where's his knock-up coming from.
Now, what's your concern, right, about like how Lee isn't going to be that reliable source, much like a Nidalee, right? So you're looking to try and play towards the Renekton for that guaranteed CC to make it that easy.
You know what? At this point, I would honestly have rather have seen a flex Gragas can be played jungle, worst case scenario, put it support, and just run mid if you're the support. There was definitely, you know, better options, and he could have played, the lane probably better. I'm sure he'll review that, but yeah, I just think he's been hung out to dry a little bit.
Let's see what he can do. 0-4 right now, not the prettiest of KDAs, and one that he won't be too familiar with, at least as far as the split does go, but would have drafted a composition that wanted to become the lane bullies, wanted to get themselves in a point of power, but they are just getting collapsed upon. Beats was so phenomenal, is going to find himself in a spot of bother. He manages just to get away. The bomb comes at the last moment, and that secures the kill. It secures the turret as well. Now that's 5 turrets to 2.
Yeah, Gunkrab shooting 3-point shots like that, absolutely nothing, hasn't missed yet. Steph Curry, I think. And this turret's just going to fall. I mean, he's got the satchel charge coming off cooldown shortly. There you go.
The siege is phenomenal. Just like that, the entire top half of the map is exposed, and Inhib is there waiting to be taken. Baron is up and available. A backline TP here from Maximize, looking for a flank. He goes topside. It's the easiest double kill of his life right now. Gore Drinker, Dominus, 1, 2. And Burner Flash, it doesn't matter.
Can they Baron now? I feel like if you're Order, this is the Hail Mary that you need and you actually have to take. Because Only has no ultimate. Shock is what, he's down what, a third maybe? That's being generous. But this is the only way, in my opinion, that you're going to win a game, and it's flipping here. But look at Claire's Mega.
Phenomenal TP there from Max to start things off here to try and claw back at this 4K deficit. The Baron is getting lower, down to 2,500, closer and closer to the smite range. Will only be willing to go for the smite steal. It doesn't matter because somehow, someway, Claire has stolen it. I do not believe what I'm watching right now.
Wow.
They're going to lose to Syndra, and now can they take out Claire as well, who's once again kiting back to the mid lane, but only is so damn strong, but finally the CC's enough to get him shut down. Kevy gets his vengeance in the jungle, but Claire, the real hero.
Claire stealing the Baron there is quite literally the game. I mean, if Auto pick up the Baron there, they all of a sudden get stronger in the relevant roles. They get time to farm side lanes. They get time to start fights on their own accord, on their own terms. Let's just see what happened here. Beats does the right thing. He's actually the noble sacrifice. He's zoning the team. And it's just...
That's just a very big boulder.
That's just a boulder. It's just a little cement, little chimney. Chimney thrown in and maybe Santa popped out. It's Christmas. Claire, here you go. Here's Baza.
And only so unlucky there not to get the kill into Max, who
my
just taunted him on
goodness.
10%.
Oh my goodness, I can't. As a jungler, that is honestly the most heartbreaking thing to have happen to you in a game. I've had that happen once when I was playing competitively. I missed, it was actually Shock. I missed the smite to Shockwave. And I was playing with Ryoma and FBI at the time, and they gave me the death stares, and they made sounds like, oh! And like, they just looked at me, and I was like, I'm sorry.
When a face says 1,000 words, right?
Yeah.
You just knew, like, I can't recover from this.
I felt it, and I couldn't play the rest of it. We ended up winning, but I legitimately couldn't play the rest of the game. I felt so guilty. So I really hope Kevy can turn that one around and recover, because he's actually in a point of power now, 3-1 and 1. Maximize might be caught, though.
He's going to have to hope to, isn't he? The quickness to start things off here. They collapse from Direwolves. Not a man in sight to back up Max here. The Crocodile Hunter.
Oh!
That's what they are. But they managed to take out Syndra on the flank through bot river. So somehow, someway, they made it a 1-for-1. But now the Dragon has begun. And there are two junglers here. But this time, Kevy don't miss.
This game is getting far too chaotic and far too disjointed for how Direwolves played the early game. And I feel like if you have to be a critic of Direwolves, this is maybe what you could say in recent weeks. They get a little bit sloppy, right? They have such a strong and solid early game. Mid game comes around, a little bit sloppy, right? Shock dies on the back end there. You know, it's Shock and Gunkrab running down a river, trying to collapse on Maximize. Little do they know that Kevy's waiting on the back end and beats. So they kind of need to keep their heads because it's a 5k gold lead, but you're seeing how easily it is for Shock to fall down. And if Shock or Gunkrab falls down, you know, the fight obviously becomes winnable.
Scary times now. Not a bounty in sight because this game is an emotional roller coaster. You said it first there, Jubes. Direwolves had such a strong lead. It's getting a little bit dicey. Both the marksmen looking to do whatever they can. Fantastic zone use to stop out the Gnar. Now can they follow things up? It's a two-man knock-up. And that's enough for only to find one soul to claim. Looking for a second. All three lanes are passively pushing in their favor. No Baron buff to talk about, but that's not going to stop them looking to trim this wave and really decimate the order base.
Yeah, that's gone. That's inhibitor gone. You know, the only thing they can hope for is really shoving out the next few waves, top side and mid, so they don't lose the next turret or next inhibitor. But no way they cross here, Direwolves. No way they're opting in for this.
Where's Gunkrab? He's going for the false recall. He has
gonna
the TP to regroup up, but they've literally crossed the map inside the enemy base.
But this is what I mean. The comp of order has no force. Like, where's your knockup? You know, if you have a Gragas there, if you have a Diana there, I mean, Diana was banned, but if you have another option, you can start that fight there. But there's just no reliable start of a fight.
Nothing worse than having to turtle in your base to claw back a gold deficit, but also not being able to even do anything, right? We've seen them really fight back when they've had collapsible angles. But knocking on the front door like that, they had to literally just stop and stare.
Yeah, stop and stare. Isn't that a song that goes stop and stare? I'll find the for you.
You find it for me. You sing it, and we'll have a karaoke session after.
No, it reminded me. That's all. I don't know. Irrelevant when it comes to the context of this game.
Oh, I know that song, One Republic.
Yes.
It came
Did
to
you
mind.
Google it?
I did give it a Google.
Yeah, I don't have a computer to Google.
Working off that old tech.
Yep.
Well,
so now we're just gonna see Direwolves just group mid siege, poke turret. You wanna wait for the next Baron? We can do that. But I mean, with the way this game's gone, I don't think you want to rest on Baron going over to any team in particular. I mean, if it was just like a bit of a bit of a shambles around the Baron pit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the ideal checkmate where you got side lanes pushed with super minions. You can literally plant yourself mid. The best ARAM you probably ever see. Look at the posture for a Baron up in 60.
Look at Only's items. He's actually just stronger than solo laners at this point.
Might be the final nail on the coffin here.
And
as Direwolves group up to try and force it again. There's the stun. Locks in place Gun Crab again. He doesn't have a flash. He might be focused. A flash away this time. A three-man tornado from Jungi. Now he gets locked in place by the quickness. As Cupcake is smurfing, locking them all up and down. The sacrificial lamb to hopefully aid Direwolves into a team fight win. It is a double again for Only. The souls just keep on coming. Soon to be double digits on that kill score sheet. But a man that has known nothing but pain and agony for the side of Order in this game. That inhibitor's gonna fall on down, but before Claire says you can run away, he hits the ultimate and flashes away. Another soul, and Only will hit the 11 kill mark as he says, forget about the Baron. Let's just end this game. Let me just dive you in your fountain. What on earth was that? He's gonna get shut down, and now his chance to end the game is not a sure thing.
And they end? It's close.
It's so close. Oh no, Kevy's dead. Oh no, the Zonias. The Winions might be acting as the third member here. Beats and Chungy coming on through. Solitaire to try and take out Claire, who is going to fall on down. They can't end the game. He's gone for the fountain dive, and will that be a curse on this match?
At this point, you actually can't go to Baron, but I feel like you need to. So, I mean, they're dying to minions, so obviously they can't. It's 3 super minions of farm. They may even just lose the game to them, Skimmy.
Are the Winions actually going to do this? Beats, he's a tank, but how much tankiness can he do to try and stop off these waves? 3 supers flooding the base of Order. They'll be happy for some economy, but Emza burn a lot just to hold on.
Now, can I give you the theoretical world, since we're going to see nothing happen for the next, I guess, 30 or 40, 50 seconds maybe? If Order are able to stall all 3 inhibs back up, they're actually a shot to win the game, because Yasuo is going to have his 3 items. They're going to get so much gold and EXP that I'm not even kidding you, it's winnable. Like, because look at the gold lead.
He gets 100% critical strike, and suddenly you're thinking, okay.
Yeah, but so Direwolves will want to end this one on the Baron, and they definitely can. I'm just trying to be, you know, I guess play devil's advocate for what Direwolves need to do. They really need to get this Nash, reset if need be, but really just push the waves in, because if you get Baron and three waves of supers, it's nearly impossible.
But how
like
do
you
they
can't
contest this? How do they even leave their base to even look at this? I just don't see a world. You can see in the minimap right now, they are zoned away, not only because of those minions, but for the fact that the bot lane of Direwolves is shadowing in the jungle.
Seeing pings now, so we'll see how Direwolves play this one out, because again, they've had a few hiccups in the mid to late game, or see if they can close this one out cleanly. All you have to do is just walk 3 waves in, right? The engage from Order is not really reliable. It's just a Leona from long range. You know, they have so much mobility. Okay, they're walling this one off. Give you a little bit of time. Fun fact, the Yasuo can ulti off Talia wall, by the way.
Well, it's actually just diverted the minions from mid down to bot lane to crash that wave a little bit further. Look at the minimap right now. There's a wave stuck at the bottom half where bot lane usually would be by tier 1, and that's just kind of accelerated things against them.
Oh, he's going!
Order are trying to force things. Max jumps in, a 2-man charm, making a 3-man charm as Ego's got him with a stopwatch now. Looking to try and end this game as Puma is jumped with him, but Claire's trying to be a 1-man army, and they finally get their first victory against Order of Split 2.
Can I just say, I hate that from Claire. Like, he got the job done, he won the game, fantastic performance from him, from the whole Direwolves crew. But come on, give us a fight to end the game.
They juked everything, right? We were so zoned in on that little skirmish, that little scrap that he says, I've had enough of this one. I am not losing this game to chance. Hits the back door, jukes us and the observers. But congratulations to Direwolves, another team that have dismantled one of these big win streaks, making it a little bit harder for them to claim first spot.
Yeah, and I mean, Mac, how was that game for you, bud?
I think it was absolutely poggers. You know, that steal with the Baron coming in from Claire was just so damn hype. Everyone in Twitch chat in the audience was absolutely popping off. So good to see a little bit of action there, as that could have been a huge turning point for Order in the game. However, I don't know what happened. I think we get to have another look at it at least coming back up here, and then we might be able to break it down again. But Direwolves were in the driver's seat at the start of the game, got a very bit dicey over towards the end, but they managed to make it happen, even though Only tried to go a little bit too deep into the fountain.
I think it's crazy to me because if you look at some of the match histories between these teams, and like both times, I think it's fair to say that Claire and only got gapped. This time around, sure, you know, first blood, caster curse, whatever you want to call it. I think from that point onwards, they really said we've had enough of this one. You know, you've tried to do something a little bit different. We have to. Did you forget about the NAR? You know, the fact is that, you know, Claire is phenomenal on this one. Did some great work to get them across that first 15-minute mark, and then only, I mean, it's Viego, sure, but at the same time, the ability to pilot it and become as strong as he was, I would say, gave Kevy a bit of a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, this was a very big Pog-off performance on the Viego. We're actually not used to seeing that. I kind of, like, whilst I think Viego is a strong champion, right, we've never really seen the performance in the jungle that, like, of this caliber. So it was just very good to see and refreshing, I guess, to see a Viego show us what it can really do when given the resources, when getting the kills in the early game. But again, like you touched on it, you know, Claire had such a good performance on this NAR, and they kind of just went back to their roots, went back to split one champs and really took over the game. I mean, this anticlimactic ending was a bit disappointing, but hey, you know, wins pay the bills. So
Look at that, though. Look at that. Yasuo damage 5.7k.
Yeah, it's rough. But again,
feels very hard.
Like we're going to focus on Direwolves and how well they played the game, but he wasn't like. Where's he? How do you enable him? Where's his shtick? Like where? There's no knockup.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that. And I'm looking at Direwolves, at least the items. There's no Grievous. Grievous wounds either? No, there's not. Okay, so they didn't even have to worry about him, even though, you know, he loves to play around that life steal. It just didn't even need to be counted because they knew he was irrelevant in terms of the game after shutting him down pretty much all throughout the laning phase. Oh, it was just a rough time for Chungy there, and Shock. Maybe he wasn't telling any fibs at the start of the day in that pre-game interview.
I think, if anything, Nat may just be the GOAT with the Revius mind gap of, like, seeing a tweet, getting baited by the tweet, going for the prediction, and then just coming out as the unspoken smartest person on this desk.
And there you have it. And speaking of, let's bring Nat back into the conversation. Nat, please tell us, how did you do it?
Honestly, it's just the big head. It's definitely not a fluke.
Oh, okay.
I do have to say, though, anxiety through that game was fluctuating so much. I was like, Direwolves not going to do it. Direwolves going to do it. Nah, they're not going to do it. No, they're going to do it.
Yeah, it was one of those situations, you know, where Direwolves, we've seen a few times that they've had big leads in the past and then they just haven't been able to turn it into Ws. And I thought, oh no, that's happening again. But then they managed to close it out. Who do you have for the winner's interview, by the way?
I am going to be joined by Claire because I have so many questions that I'm dying to ask him. But firstly, congratulations on the win. How do you feel after that one?
Thanks. Feels really good to beat Order. They're tied first right now. We were 0-2 versus them, kind of a rough matchup for us. But I think we always kind of knew that we could beat this team. So it feels good to actually do it.
I can imagine. I want to start at the start. There's a lot to break down here, but draft-wise, were you guys surprised by, I guess, the champs that they were picking, and were you prepared for them at all?
I mean, okay. Why are you picking Renekton Talia when you can look at my stats, look at me playing Gnar last split? I'm going to pick Gnar. I'm going to destroy you on Gnar, so there it is. Don't play those two champs. Or don't play Renekton specifically if you're going to give me Gnar.
So true, you know, they can't give you one of the best champs that you have out there. Now, I would just want to jump straight to, because you guys did well laning phase, not too much to break down there, but I want to jump straight to that Baron, that steal. I got it. Walk me through it from start to end and how you were feeling through it all.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure the score was like 9-1. We were pushing their base. We all knew like the game was over, and then I was like calling that Renekton's gonna base and maybe look for a TP like a lot. And then he TP'd behind us and two of us died and they started Baron. And I think at that point, we were a bit worried because if they do get Baron, they can stall the game out for a long time while farming inhibs and it would be hard for us to end. So it kind of sucks that they were in a position to actually do the Baron. I think we actually made a mistake by contesting it earlier. I think we should have played like a bit slower and play for the fight after. So what ended up actually happening is we contested early, which was wrong. I walked into river, Leona E'd me, and we were calling to just blow up Leona first, and then I didn't want to use CDs on her because I thought she was just dead anyway. And to be honest, I randomly threw my Q into the pit trying to deal damage to champions, and then I stole Baron somehow. So God bless, that was really lucky.
Yeah, it did feel like somehow you stole it, but look, however you did it, it's, you know, an interesting breakdown and great to see from your point of view. I want to know, at what point during that game, though, did you feel, I guess, comfortable that you guys were going to close this game out and take the win?
Well, I mean, it happens twice. Like, it was a roller coaster. We were like taking all the inner turrets, we were pushing the inhibitors, we were breaking them like pre 20 minutes, and then 2 of us died, and then we might have lost Baron. That felt like kind of scary. And then after we stole Baron, we were still like, oh, like, because I think 4 of us died or something. I think 4 of us died, and they didn't get the Baron, but we were still in a really like position where we shouldn't have been, considering how far ahead we were. But then I think we just pushed another lane, then we took another fight. I think I E'd under the turret and like killed Kevy or something. And then after that, we knew we were back in the game and it was easy again.
When Only died to the fountain, kind of what happened there? I want to know, like, I want to know what the team was thinking.
yeah.
You guys were going through it. I guess the struggle to not really close out there and then to come back, just go around the back and take the game from there.
Yeah, I think the death there by Jordan, it's like, it didn't affect us winning the game. I think we were going to win the game regardless. It's so hard to come back from being triple inhibbed. But yeah, I remember in comms, Jordy, after he inted, he was like apologizing profusely. He said sorry like probably like 10 times, and he was saying, oh my god, I screwed up. But it's all chill. We just get Dragon, we get Baron again, walk down all the lanes. Like, we have 3 inhibs. That's like 5-6 super minions on the map with Baron buff. Like, there's pretty much no way they can defend. And I just walked into their base. They had to deal with mid, so I just walked up to the inhib and just hit it for free. I mean, the Nexus.
Just easy as that by the end of it. But look, congratulations again on the win, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Always good to hear straight from the horse's mouth exactly what's going down in the team comms and the whole vibe of everything that's going on during the game. However, we do have a player that delivered, and I think Claire was in with a shot with that little Baron steal, but it's not him, it's only the man in the jungle. 11, 2, and 3. Man got 87% kill participation. He was all over the damn map and is certainly enabling that mid to win. So doing Shock a lot of favors this game, as well as getting a couple of kills all over the map. However, Jubes, tell me, what was his best feature other than his looks?
I was about to say his bicep in that photo, but I would say, you know, just across the board, the way he covered the map, and like, it's all well and good to get fed, to get a little bit of an early lead, but he really took that double kill in the early game and ran away with it. I mean, he just kept pressing and pressing and pressing and finding kills in the mid lane, linking up with the rest of his team, and he never really stopped. And so, yeah, it was just a really good, refreshing performance from him. It's not a 1v9 because, like, obviously everyone played well on the Direwolves, but it was a big statement game from him because Kevy's just had some blinders in recent weeks.
He certainly has. Now, that was a very good game from Only. I'd say probably one of the best we've actually seen from all split. So let's see if he can find that consistency towards the tail end and into the playoffs, because that's going to be absolutely huge. However, we do have another couple of games to get to, so I'm not going to keep you any longer. Exclamation playlist in the chat to listen to all the 6 songs we've had from Warner. But coming up just after the break, we've got Legacy and Peace going head-to-head.
The lane bullies wanting to get themselves in a point of power, but they are just getting collapsed upon. Beats whilst so phenomenal is going to find himself in a spot of bother. To get away. The bomb comes at the last moment. The Baron is getting lower, down to 2,500, closer and closer to the smite range. Will only be willing to go for the smite steal. It doesn't matter.